I'm sorry. Give me a minute. Wake up, everybody. No more sleeping in bed. No more backwards thinking. Time for thinking ahead. The world has changed so very much from what it used to be. There is so much hatred, war, and poverty. Wake up, all the teachers. Time to teach a new way. Maybe then they'll listen to what you have to say. 'Cause they're the ones who's coming up, and the world is in their hands. When you teach the children, teach them the very best you can. The world won't get no better if we just let it be. Na 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 na. The world won't get no better. We gotta change it, yeah. Just you and me. Now, you and I both know I do not sound like Teddy Pendergrass, Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes, or anybody who's worth listening to. But prayerfully, you got something out of the message and you kind of ignored those few tones that I missed. Not few, a whole lot of them. It's Angela. I'm back. Thank you for coming back to Channel for Change. This is my new platform. And I'm so glad to see you. It's been a busy week, hasn't it? A lot has been going on every day, and we have a lot to talk about. And I am so glad that you're here to be with me. Now, for those of you who have not been in my platform before, I created this platform as a way to give homage. I think the word is homage to Mr. George Floyd, who lost his life, who was murdered, who was lynched, who was killed. He lost his life unnecessarily at the hands of the police. And due to that, I thought it was necessary that I start being a part of the solution and not the problem. You and I both know that complaining is not a strategy. I'm a single mother. I have 2 adult sons, and that could have been anybody's baby on the street. And the reality is things are not going to get any different. The world is not going to change until we change it. Now, it's good to have a platform and talk, but I want to be a part of the process. I want to be that person who does and do. Everybody's not one for sitting down, and everybody's not one for protesting, but everybody marches to a different beat. And if I get to talk and have a platform and someone else is out there protesting, holding up signs, and then you got people in politics who initiate the laws and put things into place, then we can have things be different. Teddy Pendergrass, Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes, they talked about, it's time to wake up. It's time to get up. It's time to do. It's time to be. It's time to have. It's time to be about something. Wake up, everybody. Not just black people, not just white people. Everybody needs to wake up. No more backwards thinking. Okay? Even though the slave mentality plays a role and the master mentality plays a role in what's going on today, we as a people, black people, white people, Latino people, American people, Native American people, we all have to play a role in doing things differently. The song talks about teaching those that come up behind us. Well, believe it or not, all of us come up behind somebody. Just because I'm a grown woman doesn't mean someone can't teach me. And it is never ever too late to be taught something. I am not an old dog, and I can always learn a new trick. Okay, there's always a better way to do something. And that's what this platform is for. Until we as a people get together and do something differently, we're going to constantly have people getting hanged from trees, getting lynched, getting getting a knee stuck in their neck. Ridiculousness. Just craziness. We have a lot to cover. And I'm gonna talk about my first and my most favorite topic. Karen, Ann, Susie, Peggy, all of them. But today we're gonna talk about Kroger Karen. I love them women. They are just funny. You know, they always got to get their 3 seconds. And I meant what I said, 3 seconds. They got to get their 3 seconds of fame. So this happened in Detroit. This chick, with her baby in the stroller, stands behind a car. She is a white woman. She stands behind a black car that belongs to a black woman and refuses to move. Now, if you remember, not that long ago, we had a New York City park, Karen, Ann, Peggy, Susie, who was strangling her dog, you know, trying to get the man in trouble. Y'all remember the story, Miss Cooper. Doesn't that sound like somebody special? Miss Alice Cooper. Well, Miss Kroger Karen puts her daughter, who's in a stroller, behind a car. So you messing up the lady in New York is strangling her dog to make a point. This chick in Detroit, Kroger Karen, has her daughter in a buggy behind a car that could have easily moved. And then the driver would have been wrong. And all of this started because the owner of the car, who was a black woman, was in the grocery store with her children. Her son stepped on top of the bottom shelf to reach a bottle of Gatorade. Selah. Think about that. And Kroger Karen gets uptight because I'm trying to shop and people in here jumping on the shelves. Watch the video. Okay, let me tell you one thing about my platform. It is not for venting. I'm not here to vent. I'm not here to complain, and I'm not here to, I'm here to uplift. But sometimes you just got to put things out there. Ridiculousness. You know, we all come up short in one area or another, whether it be racism or gender inequality or ageism or, you know, picking on people's sexual preferences or where the person lives or what they do for a living. We all got to come up. You know what? Schools wouldn't be clean without janitors. Okay? I don't know what those people are called, but the people who have to remove dead animals from the street, that is not a job I want. And God knows that we could not get around and we couldn't be able to breathe clean air if we didn't have people out there who would clean up those animals, those deceased animals. Okay? It's not a job I would want. I'm going to let you know that up front. And like so many other people, I've worked in fast food. I don't want to work in fast food now, but we have got to start treating people better. I don't have to like you. You don't have to like me, but we need to respect each other. And Kroger Karen didn't have anything better to do but to take her daughter. There should be a law behind what she did. That was child endangerment. I used to be a social worker. To me, somebody should be knocking on her door because your priorities are not together. It was more important to Kroger Karen in Detroit. And the only reason why I'm calling her Kroger Karen is because I couldn't get her name. I couldn't find out her name because I would call out her name, her address, her shoe size. But Kroger Karen put her daughter in danger by standing behind a car that could have easily moved. Now, to me, that's a CPS issue. Because if you're doing that on camera with people watching you, telling you to move, then you have some challenges. Okay? You one of them people that the police don't feel like dealing with. Okay? So, food for thought. We got a lot to cover today. We got to talk about Joe Biden's platform. Today is June 19th. Happy June 19th. Happy Juneteenth. And I apologize. I should have done my homework on today on what June 19th is. But you know what? I'm going to come back. I need to put out more videos. And we can still talk about June 19th. Okay, it's a very special day. What's so funny is that I thought Juneteenth was last week. So, because what I did is I wished, excuse me, President Trump happy birthday. His birthday was June 14th. And I made reference to it being the day after June 13th. But that's my fault. Happy birthday anyway. So we're going to talk about Joe Biden's platform. You know what? I have been taught to call things that be not as though they are. So we're going to start calling him President Joe Biden. We're going to talk about his platform and some of the things that he believes in. Now, one of the things that our current president did is that he put in an executive order on policing. And he enforced that order to create a national database on excessive force complaints. In other words, from moving forward, police officers who get a complaint against them regarding excessive force will be their name will be put in a database. The reason why they're doing that is because they're having too many police officers who are murdering black men and women who have a history of physical abuse, police brutality. Okay, now pertaining to the police guidelines, one of the complaints is that it's too police friendly. I'm very neutral. I don't know if it's police friendly or not. I'm just reporting. One of the things that I will continue to share with you is that I am not a naturally political person, and I figure if I'm not, then other people aren't. And it's helpful that if I do my due diligence, I can help other people get more interested in the people who represent our country, people who apply for the position of president. It's the same thing as applying for a position as a pastor, applying for a position as a principal. What qualifications do you bring to the table? What is your personality like? What is your family life like? Who are you as an individual? So in one of my previous videos, we talked about what the previous President Barack Obama, brought to the United States as a man, as a husband, as a father. We shared some of our concerns regarding our current President Trump, and now we're discussing our future President Joe Biden. The policy guideline that our current President Trump put together, the concern is that it's police friendly, that it doesn't really hone in on the needs of the community, and that it is at present the most federal action taking place in response to the killing, murder, lynching of George Floyd. The guidelines state that the police needs to have more credentials on being able to use force, credentials as in they need more training, and on the proper usage of force and de-escalation. Now, President Trump says that he is stating that there should be no more chokeholds except when there is risk to the police life, risk to the life of the police. Now, here's my issue. Police always saying that their life is at risk, and in all fairness to them, they're on the street and they always at a level 10 because they don't know what they're walking into. We're talking about special situations and circumstances. That's what all of this is about. Every time a police officer has to deal with an African American man or woman, they feel that their life is in jeopardy, whether it be a child or an adult. They're trigger happy, and they're always kicking and choking, and knees in the back, in the head, in the face. And we had a couple of comedians to come out, or at least one, I apologize, who talked about how he had a knee on his neck. So that means this is an issue. Okay, this ain't once or twice. And there were a couple of men who have died prior to George Floyd because they couldn't breathe. All right. So This whole thing, no chokeholds except when there's a risk to the police life. Well, when they signed up for the job, their life was at risk. So to say that you have to put somebody in a chokehold because you think your life is at risk is unacceptable. And that needs to be revamped, because all they're going to say is that somebody blinked. I thought my life was at risk. She twitched. I thought my life was at risk. She ran away. She ran from me. I thought my life was at risk. When I say she or he, I'm a woman. But you get my point. They've had issues where men, black men, have gotten shot in the back getting away from the police. And they thought they had the police thought that individual had a gun. So that is unacceptable. That is my opinion. That's the way I see it. I'm a layman. And I do have a say-so because I vote. I vote and I pay taxes. You have a say-so. You vote. You pay taxes. Okay? We have a say-so. Guess what? We all have a say-so. Black people have a say-so. Latino people have a say-so. White people have a say-so. It matters what you think, what you say, and how you respond. Guess what? Your life matters. My life matters. Black lives matters. Latino lives matters. American lives matters. 'Cause you matter. Know your value. Know your rights. Know the law. There you go. Okay, so back to President Trump. He says no chokeholds except when there is risk to the police life. He wants local departments to bring in local departments to help the police with people that they have to deal with in the community, like mental health issues, addiction, and homelessness. So, in other words, 911 shows up on the scene. It's a nonviolent issue. The person is homeless, has mental health issues, or is on drugs. These are very complex encounters, I agree. The police are already on level 10. They're trigger happy. They're ready to rock and roll. They've probably seen too much TV and heard too many stories. They're in a bad mood, and they need assistance being able to properly assess the situation. Let me tell you my concern with this. I used to be a social worker, and I used to be a mental health therapist. I have a master's degree in social work, and I have several years of experience. Here is my concern. My concern is that those people that you decide will accompany the police need to still have a background in being a police officer. Okay, they can have, for example, a dual degree. They go to school to be a police officer and a social worker, a police officer and working with addiction, because you're still dealing with the street mentality. Okay, I was a social worker and I dealt with certain types of people, but some people I just wasn't really capable of dealing with. You know your role, know your lane. Don't call me. I'm an individual used to working with teenagers, for example, and now I'm being assigned to the police department. That's crazy. I can't help you. You might shoot me in the back because I'm running. I'm scared. So that's a qualified position. That's a special position. I think it's a great position, and it's a position that should be paid for, very well paid for. Don't call Child and Family Services saying that you have a teenager out here. I'm not qualified for that. Okay? But those are the things that you need to consider. So he wants to put together programs for building relationships between law officers and the community. I think that's an excellent idea. I think that is an awesome idea. Two people get together, two people as in the community and law officers, they get together and they talk about concerns. That's what needs to happen in the first place. Now, all of this is under the executive order that President Trump has put together. I can't say whether it's police friendly or not. I don't know. But these are some of the guidelines. We talked about the executive order. We talked about Kroger Karen. Um, yeah, we talked about Kroger Karen, so we're going to move on. Let's talk about, um, here's my concern. And the good thing is I had the opportunity to listen to other people talk, people who are a lot more skilled at this type of platform. I think as a black community, we could get a lot more done if we would do something different regarding black on black crime. Now, I'm going to tell you something that I've learned. You know it, but you don't realize it till you hear it. There's white on white crime, but you don't hear it too much about it. There's Latino on Latino crime, but you don't hear too much about it. There's Asian on Asian crime, but you don't hear too much about it. You hear a lot about black on black crime, okay? And it's in the media on a regular basis. But because we are a special and unique group of people with unique challenges. We're special people. We're smart people. We're intelligent people. We're insightful people. We're creative people. And we also have a unique set of challenges. We need to do things differently. One thing that we can all agree to is that we are the most diverse group of people when it comes to culture. Diverse, divided, and diversified. Okay? I'm using all the different language. We are extremely diverse, but we're extremely divided. We don't get together on too much of anything, okay? And we're real happy when other people are down, other people in our community. We support everyone, all the different cultures, but we have a difficult, challenging time supporting ourselves. Yes, that is the slave mentality. Yes, there is also the master mentality. But we have to also work together in building up and changing our hard wiring, one day at a time, one thought at a time, one action at a time, for the rest of our lives, and pulling up those behind us. If you're 80 years old, come and pull me up. If I got to pull up the 20-year-old, So yeah, I do think that if we work together, not just talking, doing, regarding black on black crime, it will be a big support when we start, while we deal with police brutality in the black community. That's what I'm attempting to convey. One is not more important than the other, but how do you work on one without working on the other? The lack of respect that we give ourselves plays a role in the lack of respect we receive from other people. Okay. I would encourage you to watch the 1992 Tupac Shakur interview that he did with E. It was his first interview, and it was in 1992, and he talked about the welfare of the black man and how he as an individual felt it was important for him to bring the black man behind him up. So you got to watch it. I will elaborate on that later. It was an excellent interview. It was actually my first time seeing it, and I didn't start liking Tupac until long after he passed away. So I came across the interview. It's in 1992, Tupac Shakur's first interview with E. All right then. Here's something that we need to talk about. The black pastor, this happened in Virginia. Last week before last? A black pastor was arrested for brandishing a weapon after he got jumped by 5 white people. 4 men, 1 woman. Because they dumped trash on his property. Now, here's the blessing. The blessing is that he was arrested, but he was released. and the 5 people were charged with the hate crime. That's the happy ending. But look at what had to happen. 2 people, 2 men, 2 women, 2 people who happened to be white, dumped a refrigerator on his property, and he said, don't dump the refrigerator on my property, as he should have. Well, they gave the pastor a couple of words and left and came back and jumped him and headbutted him and mistreated him, called him out his name. We already know the names that they called him. The police were called. The pastor was arrested. These are the things that we need to address. Ridiculous. Utterly ridiculous. Okay? Enough said. So we got Kroger Karen putting her daughter's life in jeopardy to prove a non-point. And we have a black pastor in Virginia who gets arrested for defending himself. You and I both know that is not a gray area. That's ridiculous. All right, Joe Biden. Let's talk about President Joe Biden. Let's talk about each video that I do. We talk about some of the things that he has a position on, and it's to help us to get to know the person that's running for president. For the record, you got to know both parties, okay? You got to know what the current president position is on things, and the person running for president, okay? Because you have to make a decision. I can't tell you to vote for Joe Biden. I'm not telling you to vote for Joe Biden. I'm telling you to get to know the person's position. There was a time that black people didn't have the right to vote. People died for the right to vote, and that wasn't that long ago. That was less than 200 years ago. It wasn't that long ago. People were cheated, mistreated out of the right to vote. If you couldn't read, they wouldn't let you vote. And you could have just brought somebody with you. You know, somebody could have taught you this name, that name. This is what it looks like. Vote on one of those. You couldn't read something this long. Now, keep in mind, black people weren't allowed to read at one time. Okay? So one of the things that Joe Biden is in agreement in is that he believes that minimum wage should be raised across the United States to $15 an hour. Congress has not approved an increase in minimum wage since 2009, when it was increased to a whole $7.25. Let me tell you why that's wrong. Let me tell you why that's rotten. Because when I was in high school, which was a while ago, minimum wage was $5 an hour. And then, so you telling me between 2009 and then, it was only raised for $2? And we're talking about the most extreme southern states. Virginia, Alabama. Minimum wage is $7. $7.25. In 2016, President Trump increased it to $10 an hour. Now, the people who are in agreement with it being raised to $15 an hour, besides Joe Biden, is Bernie Sanders and Kamala Harris. Andrew Yang believes it should be left up to the states. I'm going to give you my opinion. My opinion is that minimum wage should be across the board $20 an hour. To me, that is fair. Okay? People have to pay rent. People have to eat. Okay? And there's this real discrepancy as to how much you can make, how much you have to pay for food stamps, and how much you have to, and how much, there's a discrepancy as to how much you can earn in relation to rent, whether or not you can apply for food stamps, health insurance, whether or not you're qualified for health, state Medicaid, state medical support. You get what I'm saying? We're just talking about, and more than likely that person may not have reliable personal transportation. There's the bus, there's the train, there's Uber. Everybody doesn't have a car. What are you expecting to get done off of $15 an hour? Or allowing each state to come up with their own minimum wage. Across the board, it should be $20 an hour. Okay. Here's the next thing. Now, Mr. President Biden, that is my opinion. I'm sure that I am speaking for the average layman. Okay. Now, me personally, I plan on voting for you. And if I get the opportunity to represent you or talk to you or, send you an email, I'm just letting you know that $20 is fair. It's just a fair dollar amount. Okay, the next thing that Joe Biden was, the next thing that Joe Biden is in support of paid leave. Now, he supports the plan, but he has no specifics on how he plans on addressing them. Now, similar people who agree with paid leave would be Bernie Sanders, Kamala Harris, and Andrew Yang. They believe that each individual should have, they believe that people should have several months of broad paid family and medical leave. That will be Bernie Sanders, Kamala Harris, and Andrew Yang. There are other people that I don't have their names that they believe it should be up to 12 weeks of broad paid leave, paid family leave, and medical. I think everybody, again, this is me talking, should have some form of leave. Okay, there should be a bank, and I don't care if you work at McDonald's. I don't care. Everybody should have a minimum of 2 weeks paid annual leave, sick, family, whatever the case may be. A minimum of 2. If you work 40 hours a week, and I'm saying McDonald's, I'm saying all of them, Safeway, Chick-fil-A, all of them, Target. If you work 40 hours, or I apologize because, people get funny about that. If you work more than 30 hours every week, that should be considered full-time because they like to play with the leave. Then now all of a sudden, well, you don't work 40 hours, you work 39. So, I am not going to say no to several months of broad paid leave. I just think that's a bit much. Next thing you know, ain't nobody at work. So, that's my take. Now, I learned something. Reparation. I never knew what that was. I've heard about it, but I didn't know what it was. Now, keep in mind, I'm learning like you learning. So, I do some homework so I can help me help you. And in return, I'm really hoping that you give me a thumbs up. If you're learning anything off this platform, please subscribe to my channel and give me some constructive comments so I can learn better and do better and build up my channel. Reparation. The definition of reparation is to amend the wrong done to someone. Synonyms for reparation is restitution, atonement, and compensation. Joe Biden, Andrew Yang, Kamala Harris, and Bernie Sanders all believe in reparation. But this is what they believe. They believe it should be studied. They think that information should be gathered and it should be discussed. Well, you know what? See, I can do that for you, because this ain't hard. Let me give you a case study. Okay. Archie Williams spent 36 years in the Louisiana prison for a crime he did not commit. Okay, let me tell you about the crime. A woman, a white woman, I believe she was raped and stabbed, or she was assaulted. Let me use that. And she described the individual. The individual was tall. Archie Williams was her height. They did eventually find the person who did it. They found him, but he had already died. He had a history of assaulting women. Okay, and it was the DNA that got Archie Williams off 36 years later. Here's where reparation comes in at. In the state of Louisiana, the most Archie Williams can get is $250,000. $250,000. He went to prison in his 20s and came out in his 50s. He spent 36 years in prison. The most he can get is $250,000. I'm in prison. Somebody's in prison for 36 years for a crime that they did not commit. And the most they can get is $250,000. And that's only after they go back to court. They got to go back to court. That means they got to get an attorney. They got to pay that attorney unless that attorney is pro bono. $250,000 divided by 36 years is $6,944.44. To make it easy, $6,944 a year for 36 years. Divide that $6,944 by 12 months. That is $579 a month. $579 a month divided by 4 is $145 a week. $145 a week divided by 40 hours is $3.60 a week. I don't know if that $250,000 is taxed. I'm going to presume it is. So a third of that has to go to an attorney unless it's pro bono. I didn't think to do this until just now. 250 divided by 3. Clear. 250, 1, 2, 3, divided by 3 is $83,000. So I'm going to presume that the attorney is going to charge $83,000. There's got to be some taxes coming out of that unless it's not taxed. So he is absolutely not getting $250,000. I believe reparation should be automatic. He shouldn't have to go to court. The very second that he has been proven guilty, he should be getting at the bare minimum each year minimum wage. Whatever the minimum wage was for that year, whatever it was. Okay? So if minimum wage I hate to say this, if minimum wage was $7 an hour, he should get it for that year. Whatever, each year the minimum wage goes up, that's how much he should be getting. Okay, when it went up to $10, that's how much he should be getting. And it should be taxed less. And the attorney, there should be no attorney. That should be a given. As a matter of fact, skip the attorney, have people in place to teach him how to manage that money, where to invest that money. Now that's how you get people back on track. It just so happened that Archie had a family to go to, but a lot of people come out of prison with no more than the clothes on their back and $40 in their pocket with no place to go. Well, if they're coming out of prison and they have been determined free, or you know, as in not guilty, they should be surrounded by a group of people, and that's a job I would apply for, to help them to get housing, to help them find a job, because I know they do have jobs for people coming out of prison, and that money will help them pay rent or buy a house. They got programs out there. Put those programs to good use. But no, you want to put this money on bull stuff. You putting money on prisons. Now President Joe Biden is not, he's against private prisons. I understand that, but I'm just saying collectively, this money should be when they come out of prison, reparation is automatic. They should have that check when they step out. They should have a group of people to sit down with them, to help them to get ready. They shouldn't have too much space. They just spent 30, 20, 15 years in prison. They don't need a whole lot of space. They need to, make sure they have their therapy and their counseling Everything should be locked, stock, ready to rock and roll. Okay, so that's your case study on reparation. All right. Cost of college. Now, I like this one. Joe Biden thinks that the first 2 years should be free. I'm in agreement. At 2 years, technical college, community college should be free. Amen to that. And public schools should go all the way up to grade 14. In other words, it will include technical and community college. I'm in agree with that. I think that is totally awesome. I think college really should be free. You know, you go to college, you get in debt to come out to make $40,000 a year, and I got to pay all that stuff back. You know that's wrong. Okay, so in other words, after high school, 2 years should be free, whether it be business school, technical school, community college. Free, free, free. So we talked about minimum wage, paid leave. We talked about reparation. We talked about Joe Biden. Like I told you, we're going to always pray together. And we're going to call out the names of those people who died before us. Okay? They died too soon. So, I think I called this name out before, but we're going to start here. Jermaine Dwayne Logan, 35-year-old black male, died in Topeka, Kansas. His name sounds familiar. I think I called his name out before. Martinez Webb. Now, they have him as a black man. Martez Webb, 23-year-old black man, died in Detroit, Michigan. Yep. They have him. All of this happened in November. Is that November? Yeah, November 2018. Okay, these are all the people who've died at the hands of the police. Emantic E.J. Fitzgerald Bradford, 21-year-old black male, died in Birmingham, Alabama. Whoops. Good Lord. Eugene. Oh, how this thing skip? I apologize. Give me a minute. I skipped way. I don't know how I did this. Okay, I apologize. Give me a moment, please. Come on. I skipped way too far. And this is going so slow. Okay. November. Come on, Angie. Nope. Okay, I called Martez Webb. I called him out. 23-year-old black male who died at the hands of the police. Okay, we have Emantic. I called him. Okay, Eugene Benjamin Weathers, 48-year-old black male. He died in Talladega, Alabama, November 21st, 2018, at the hands of the police. We have Rio Antoine Thomas, 27-year-old male. He died November 17th, 2018, in Fort Pierce, Florida. Fort Pierce, that's the military. Okay, Alan Fanning, 18-year-old black male. He died in Greenwood Village, Colorado. He died on November 15th, 2018. Jack Darrell Fields Jr., 25-year-old black male. He died in Augusta, Georgia, November 15th, 2018. We have, this is an African name. I do not want to be disrespectful. He's a 22-year-old black male. He died in Fort Chiswell, Virginia, November 14th, 2018. His last name is Murphy. His middle name appears to be Raekwon, and his first name appears to be Alajuwon. Olajujwon. Okay? And I'm going to call out one more. Timothy Odell Leon, 24-year-old black male, Glendale, Arizona. He died at the hands of the police November 13th, 2018. One of the things I want to talk to you about in closing are some scriptures. We need to share some scriptures. We do not wrestle against flesh and blood. Flesh and blood is what we see. Which, when you look at me, flesh and blood. We don't wrestle against the flesh and blood. We wrestle against spirits and principalities. We are motivated by spirits, good spirits and bad spirits. And the way you battle a spirit is with the spirit. The way you battle a word is with the word. Okay? You have to think before you speak. And I'm talking about all of us. Some of us have encounters with the police based on the things that we have said or done. Okay? It doesn't make the end result right. But if each one of us would pray for one person, we can help reduce black on black crime, police brutality, racial differences. We could increase equality. We can increase consideration for other people, because that's what this is all about. We don't have to like each other. But we should want to respect each other. We all bring something to the table. A black woman brings something a white woman can't bring. A white woman brings something an Asian woman doesn't bring. An Asian woman brings something a Native American doesn't bring. A Native American brings something a Latino doesn't bring. A Latino brings something a black woman doesn't bring. We all teach one. We each one teach one. We can all bring something gracious to the table. We can all pray together over one person. I can pray over my neighbor. You can pray over the grocery man. Someone else can pray over the policeman. Policemen, they need prayer too. They going out and fighting the good fight of faith. I am sure they did not wake up saying, I'm going to kill me a nigga today. Excuse me, but I'm just saying, I'm sure they didn't just wake up that way. Things happened. They were taught something. That they was taught something by someone who didn't learn, or it's not all pieces. It's pieces that make up one person. So what's wrong with starting your day off with prayer for yourself and one other person? I have continuously asked, please, please, please join with me, pray with me, help me to be better. And in return, pray with one person, pray for one person, because we can do this together. None of us can do this by ourselves. So, scriptures. Think before you speak. James 1:19 through 20. Let me pull that up real quick. Give me a moment. Google. All right. James 1:19 through 20. All right. My dear brothers and sisters, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry, because human anger does not produce, let me see. It doesn't produce the love of God. Let's put it that way. It got cut off. Let me see what the rest of it says. Yep, it does not bring about the righteous life that God desires, that you desire. Okay? So that's James 1:19 through 20. Let me give you another one. Think before you speak. Let's do Proverbs 21 and 23. Proverbs 21:23. Oh, this is a good one. Those who guard their mouths and their tongues keep themselves from calamity. It takes two. Okay, that's what I'm attempting to convey to you. Yeah, the police have a role in this, but so do we. Okay, sometimes it's just better to listen. Sometimes. I ain't say don't defend yourself. I ain't say speak up. And it goes both ways. The police need to listen. You need to listen. And they may not know how to listen. That's why we gotta pray over them. So we got the man who murdered George Floyd facing a lot of years. And if justice prevails, he will do those years. And he needs to do it in regular population. He don't need to be asking for what they call it, solitary confinement. No. You need to hang out with the big boys. Everybody has a lesson they need to learn. Okay. So those two I'm going to give you for now. Considering other people. Philippians 2-4. Let's work on that. Philippians 2:4. Considering others, not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the interests of others. The reason why I picked that out is because, yeah, we need to pray for one other person, but it shouldn't always be your husband, your wife, your son, your daughter. Collectively find one person to pray over. Yes, I pray over my sons, but I also pray over my landlord. I also pray over my doctors. You follow me? Don't consider just me. I shouldn't just be thinking about myself. I need to also think about other people. We all come up short. We all need each other. I got to do the work, and I'm asking you to support me. Be there for me. Help me. If nothing else, listen to me without judgment and pray for me. All right. Philippians 2:3-4. Instead of 4, let's do this last one. Philippians 2:3-4. Hold on. 3-4. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourself, not looking to your own interests, but of each of you to the interests of others. I use that as prayer. Pray for one another. Pray. You just, if you're the type of person, well, look, I don't know how to pray for people. I understand you. God understands the language that you speak. You don't have to whip out the old King James Version and be regular. Be regular. Be honest. And guess what? It's perfectly okay for you to tell the Lord, I struggle with racism. He knows that. We all come up short in a sinful area. Okay? He can help you, but you have to be honest. Okay, well, I don't really read the Bible. That's fine. That's what I'm here for. I just gave you some scriptures. And in my previous video, I gave you a couple of scriptures. I'll give you the scriptures. And then you say, Angela, I need a scripture for this. I'll help you. I'll teach you. I'll give you an example. And then you got to do the work. I love you. I love you with the love of the Lord. I didn't know this video was going to be this long. I keep saying I'm going to try to shorten it. I'm not exactly sure if I should. I'm holding myself accountable. I want to do more. I want to be better. I want to have more. I want to leave a lineage for my children and my children's children. And I want to live a long, healthy, gracious life. And I want my sons to have a long, healthy, happy, gracious life. And I want my grandchildren to have a long, gracious, healthy, happy, whole life. Nothing missing, nothing broken. I know this is not a fancy YouTube video and the background and the lights, and I haven't gotten there yet. you know. But I do hope, I pray that you did get something off of my platform. Give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel. Give me some constructive critique. And I do hope to hear from you soon. Bye-bye.